Welcome, everybody, to Beyond Boundaries with Lisa Richmond. I'm Lisa Richmond, and this is Thoughtful Thursday. So, to everybody who's returning, thank you very much for tuning in and being loyal and coming back and hearing the messages that come through from Spirit. And if you're new here, welcome, 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 welcome. I'm very happy to have you. Thoughtful Thursday, I generally come in and just kind of tune into spirit and see what message needs to come through. It's always different. I kind of have an underlying energy before coming in, and then honestly, it's just kind of turned into something that I just bring forward a direct message from spirit. That's what happens every Thursday. And then Tuesday, I come on and I use cards. I do the same thing, but with cards. So that gives you more of a visual. I know a lot of people enjoy having the cards. And then on Saturday, I do meditations with sound frequency and sometimes guided with voice. It's always different. So, thank you so much for tuning in, and I appreciate it. So, today I'm going to just tune in and feel the energy. So, Pluto moved into Aquarius. I'm sure you've heard all about it. That happened on Tuesday, the 19th. And that energy, I think, for especially apparently the cardinal signs, which I am, basically my entire household. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes when you look back in history. Some of the big things that happen that is similar to the planetary alignment that's coming forward right now is a lot of revolution, a lot of change for good. For voices to come forward that need to be heard. And I think that collectively we're ready for that. I just want to say that remembering going forward that one of the key things Spirit continues to say is understanding that we're not separate. We live in a dimension that is made up of a property of duality. Yet, as we increase in our frequency and vibration, the duality, the teeter-totter effect of the duality really shortens up in its length. So that it's not, the pendulum doesn't swing so far from one way to the other. And you can really see that, not saying it's better or worse, but you can really see that with individuals that might not be, resonating in a higher frequency, in a higher dimension, in that the duality to these individuals are so extreme. Like the sides of the coins are just so extreme, and that it's such a strong sense of one better than the other. And I gotta say, this message continues to come up and continues to come up about this duality and how we're raising in our frequency. And especially with this new planetary alignment, like we're moving out of like really strong karmic lessons and karmic ties. And we're moving in, especially when you are continuing to resonate in a frequency of a higher dimension, when you're resonating in that higher frequency. That some of the karmic lessons in which we're tying up or have tied up took place, whether it's in this life past, whether it's ancestral or that we're carrying the lineage within our karmic field, that we're here to tie up that karmic lesson, the duty we decided to take on, right? If that karmic lesson is being tied up in a lower frequency, that it took place and the lesson is learned in a lower frequency, then as they are kind of tying up, we are feeling it within that frequency. So don't be too shocked if right now, as we're moving and transitioning, some of the lessons that we're finishing up get connected with a sense of sadness, even a sense of like, I I don't know what else to do. Like, I don't know where to go now. Where we have that brief kind of feeling of, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? I don't know what to do next. It feels like there's just that like silence or that pause. And so Spirit is coming forward right now, and saying like some of these big lessons or karmic tie-ups that we've that we've done or are finishing up right now actually can come with some sadness. And we might not even be able to place where that sadness comes from. It might lie very deep within ourselves. But then just to try not to connect it so strongly with anything and let it just move through our body and know that some of these lessons are like finishing up, and to not get really, really tied into them, but just to experience them. Okay? So that's one thing. And then the next thing that they're saying too is that moving into this new frequency of this understanding the dualities, and as you continue to resonate in a higher frequency, like I said, the dualities don't shift so much, right? We're not feeling such big pulls of the pendulum, but it's important to understand that even what we would perceive as the shadow side or the flip side, or maybe like the more dense side, is still an aspect of source. It's still source frequency. It's not that like the enlightened ones are only the ones that experience, oneness of all. And then the ones that continue to resonate in the third dimension or a lower frequency without their ability to really rise above it, that they're other and they don't have the light of God within them, because that's not the case. We're all that oneness, and the more that we can understand and truly like integrate the fact that the ones that we perceive are doing the things that are so abhorrent also carry that aspect of oneness that we do it with essence is a part of us. So the more that we can connect and just have those cords or have those connections of source be filled with love, like truly with love, then the less it affects our frequency and the less that it carries that pendulum swing for us. And that might seem counterintuitive, but it's really important, because if we can completely accept all in creation as an aspect of ourselves and the multi-dimensional part of humanity in which we all are, then the more that we can ultimately even unconsciously accept all parts of ourselves. Therefore, resonating or coding that true acceptance into love. And when we carry that frequency of love as we walk forward, then the more that we can continue to resonate in this love frequency. And that's the way of the future. That's essentially the age of Aquarius, is by guiding with our hearts and not our beings. Although, like, I mean, we're human, we need to, like, intellectual aspects of, like, that's all important. We know this. I'm not saying cut off brain functioning, right? But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. And so Spirit is being very clear about the fact that maybe the last little bits of this ascension part of moving into this newness and tying up old loose ends could quite possibly be about ultimate acceptance of the things that we perceive as the darkest aspects, in which we have to transmute our judgment into unconditional love, because therefore it reflects back to us all the little pieces and resonance of the aspects of ourselves that are being reflected back to us within that darkness, that actually are being held within ourselves, because we're all one. We really are. And again, this isn't about condoning like behavior that is like yucky, but at the same time, it's like being able to maintain our frequency and our resonance in our place in this world while still holding unconditional love and acceptance for all. And so this is an opportunity to kind of see what parts are still being, like, what still shows up for you. What shows up in your feed still that make you go, like that trigger that part of, like, ugh. I'm from middle of Canada, And one thing that is a very like Saskatchewan thing is the term ugh. I know it's like kind of gross, but it's like a sound that encapsulates an entire feeling. It's like when something comes over and it's a whole situation or an energy or something, but we tend to go ugh. And I didn't know it was a Canadian thing until I started doing it, and people are like, "What is that?" And I know it's kind of nasty, but it really does. It's a sound that kind of encapsulates an entire energy. But that's how I can explain that whole frequency that we can like see or that comes up for us that we're like, ugh, right? Like, oh, that feels yucky inside. But what are those things that continue to come up that are triggering with that? Those are the things. Those are the things where we can start to make peace and ultimately not have such a far swing in the pendulum of duality within our perceptions of our place in the world, our resonance in this, collective, and the them versus us. And I'm not saying go join in, but you know what I'm saying. You know that I'm saying allowing that connection of all things that is one to be able to be received and understood with divinity, and knowing that we all are one, experiencing this collective in a very different way, right? You don't have to experience it in that way for you to be able to understand that we all carry source within us. Therefore, they are reflecting a part of us back to us. And I know a lot of people are like, well, if we are all one and that source, what about, the narcissists and the abusers and the toxic relationships? I'm not saying go and open your heart and make yourself fully available to people who abuse you. That's not what I'm saying at all. You don't have to have any contact with these individuals ever again. It's probably better if you don't. But what I'm saying is for your own resonance and your own peace, to be able to understand that all aspects of humanity carry that source essence, and that we all are one here on this collective experience, experiencing this in a different level, on a different level, in a different perspective, yet come from this multidimensional like source that we're only beginning to understand, and that we all see and perceive in very different ways. But as we move into this new age, it will require us to lessen that pendulum swing, or that teeter-totter effect of us versus them. And to do that, it is ultimate acceptance that we all are source. And with that acceptance, you can just open your heart space and send love. You can send love to all things that need love, that need that like vibrancy of love, without actually engaging or allowing your energy to be smooshed by the density of theirs, right? But it's that ultimate acceptance and knowing that until we can really believe that and send that love, then we still hold that duality, and therefore reflecting back to us and sparking up those little parts of self that is being reflected by that. Okay, because then we start to really perceive the world very differently. A little example of this is a very simple example, and I am acknowledging that the majority of people have much more extreme examples, but I was having a conversation with my husband last night, and I said, it's really interesting because I feel like I'm more vulnerable right now, like even doing these videos and sharing it and sharing my voice and the meditations and doing like intuitive readings and mediumship, and like really opening up to knowing that this is a part of like my purpose in this go. I said, but for the first time, I'm way more vulnerable and open now, yet I care way less about the judges or the people who, put me down because of this. And he's like, well, you must have so many people that, judge you or whatever. Like, that must be really hard. And I said, it's interesting because the more that I'm in my light and the more that I'm like, this is who I am and I'm actually true to doing this, the less I am around the judgers. And before, when I tried to like stuff this down and I tried to be the chameleon, I was a really good chameleon. I was whatever anybody needed or wanted me to be because I was a professional at it. To be able to feel comfortable in each situation, I read the room and then I knew who I had to be, what Lisa I had to show up as to make sure everybody felt comfortable. And then I was that. But I was like so sad inside. And it took me to like, gosh, Saturn return 30 to be able to finally see like, oh my God, I'm not that person. I don't even know who I am. Like, I need to dig in deep. And the more now that I'm authentic to who I am, the more the haters and the judgers like are dissipating because I'm doing it in light and I'm doing it in my authentic vibration. Therefore, I'm not connecting with the lower vibrations that I once was trying to please everybody. And yeah, I know they still exist. I know the people of my past judge me like crazy, but I don't hear it. I don't care. I literally have nothing to do with them anymore because I no longer resonate within that. And so this is an example of it can all still exist, yet it doesn't pull me down anymore. And any of the judgments that they may have really have nothing to do with me because I'm like, it's not mine. And the density that exists, I give love because they're all like, everybody's on their journey. But the more that I like release any kind of attachments to the things that pull me down, the haters, the hate comments, the very judgy things of that duality, even when in the name of God, there's judgment, right? We all know this. But the more that we can actually stay within our heart space and understand that we are all made from this beautiful source energy, yet we still protect our energy by being in our light and staying true to who we are, then those pendulum swings don't occur as much. Okay, so this is a really powerful message. I had no idea what was going to come through today, but I really thank Source for coming through with this beautiful message for the collective today. And I hope that it hits home with some of you. And please come through in the comments with any experiences you may have. Tell your story, how this hit for you. And I hope that you can feel the love, the true love that is coming from my heart space to all of you today. And that may you carry this forward with you and that your road becomes more and more clear and open and full of love. So I hope to see you guys on Saturday for a beautiful sound meditation, and I'm sending each and every one of you so much love. Take care. See you next week.